Okay, so I'm now going to move on to writing a Model P paragraph. So the previous video I went through how do we approach this question, how do we unpack it, so what sort of planning we do before actually writing. So if you haven't watched this, please watch that video first before looking at the P paragraph. If you have watched it, you're in the right place. So I'm going to use this piece of paper so I can actually just write up my P paragraph. Ideally, for the 12 marker, we are going to aim for 3 P paragraphs, but I'm only going to model 1 for you. With the P paragraph then, you need to make sure your point sentence is clear and concise. So how we can ensure it is clear and concise is you use the words from the question, okay? And we want to avoid basic points being made, okay? So we want to be as concise and specific as possible. When you get onto your explanation and your evidence, you can be a little bit more fluid with this, okay? So I'll actually be modelling to you a longer P paragraph. So what I mean by that is I'm going to write my point, I will use some evidence, I will then move on to explanation, throw in a bit more evidence, and then I'll explain again, okay? So I'm going to write a longer P paragraph. Just allows me to avoid repeating myself for the explanation, and I've got a bit more fluidity to what I'm writing. Let's get stuck into it then. So I'm going to start off with my point sentence. I'm going to aim to use the words in the question, and I'm going to have a concise point. Here we go. 1 reason why Hitler was able to create a dictatorship was because, and before I give my end of my point sentence, can you see these words here? I actually just lifted them from the question. I would recommend you do that. It's easy to read as an examiner, nice and easy. So let's finish off my point. Was because he used the Reichstag fire to eradicate, so that means to get rid of, to eradicate the communist threat. Okay, so that's my point sentence. Now you can see I've used one of the stimulus points. If I just said one reason why Hitler was able to create a dictatorship was because of the Reichstag fire, that's a really basic point. I would then be asking, but why? What is it about the Reichstag fire that allowed him to take total control? So this little bit here, to eradicate the communist threat, I've actually told you what it is about the Reichstag fire that has allowed him to create a dictatorship. Okay? Now you of course don't need to highlight your own work, that's just so you understand what a better point sentence is. Now I'm going to move on to bringing in a bit of evidence. Okay, so I'm going to bring a bit of context to what I'm saying. So I'm going to use a lovely sentence starter, just I know. I know that Hitler had been warning people of a communist plot to overthrow the government, and he utilised the fire as a way of stamping out the communists. Okay, so far I've got a really nice clear point. I am showing the examiner here I've got knowledge of the context. Okay, I've shown the examiner, look, I understand Hitler at this point had been warning people of a communist plot. This word here, utilised, it's a lovely word. That is showing that higher level of understanding to the examiner that I know he's using this event, the Reichstag fire, to his advantage. Okay, if you utilise something, you use it to your advantage. And this is what Hitler does. He uses the Reichstag fire to his advantage to get rid of that threat of the communists. Okay, so I'm showing that higher level of understanding to the examiner. The next bit then, I'm going to try and use one of my explanation sentences up here. Jotted them down earlier just to make my life easy. So I'm going to use one of those. Pop that there. As a result, okay, the reason I'd like you to use these sentence starters, and I know Mr. Hutchins will as well, examiners, it's like signposting to them, it's like making it very clear, I'm about to explain, okay? So all students at all levels, whether you are predicted a 9, whether you're predicted a 4 or a 2, try and use them, it's signposting. As a result, Hitler persuaded Hindenburg, okay, to President Hindenburg, to sign the Reichstag fire decree, which gave him, so Hitler, many powers and restricted personal liberties. Okay, so I've explained that actually Hitler's managed to persuade Hindenburg to sign the Reichstag fire decree, gives Hitler power, okay, to do what he wants essentially, and it restricts personal liberties of people in Germany, okay? So this is showing how Hitler's able to take control. I'm then going to go on to do a little bit more explanation. I'm going to use another one of my sentence starters. This meant that Hitler was able to take control, so it's another way of saying dictatorship, as the law allowed him, just going to move it up so we can see it, allowed, so the Nazis, that's probably better, allowed the Nazis to arrest anyone of opposing the government. Okay, so I'm showing again, linking it back to the focus of the question about Hitler being able to form that dictatorship, and actually showing that little bit of knowledge that they can actually just get rid of anyone that is opposing the government. That is showing how Hitler's able to form that dictatorship, take complete control. Now I'm going to add in a little bit more specific knowledge. Okay, I feel at this point I've used a lot of knowledge, okay, but I want to show off what I actually know. Sentence starter then, so I know the Nazis arrested over 4,000 communists and also shut down the newspapers of, I'm going to have to just write it here, political opponents. Okay, so I'm going to have to grab another piece of paper, that's what I'm looking for. So as you can see, this bit here, I have used really accurate knowledge, 4,000 communists, shut down newspapers of political opponents. So you could even add on there such as the KPD, okay, so the Communist Party, just to show off a bit more. So I've used a bit more evidence. I'm just going to quickly put this over, okay, because I haven't quite finished my P paragraph, okay. So the last thing I'm going to do now is just bring it all together with my last bit of explanation. So I'll use another one of my explanation sentence starters. As a result, Hitler was able to create a dictatorship as he was able to remove communist threat easily and do it legally. Okay, so my explanation here, I've said something slightly different. I haven't just said, oh, he's removed the communist threat, because I've already said that in my P paragraph, so I don't want to repeat myself. It's this bit here where I've said removed the communist threat easily and legally. Okay, I'm showing that understanding by convincing President Hindenburg to pass the Reichstag fire decree, okay, which I mentioned earlier here. By him passing that, he's able to do it legally and really easily. Okay, so that is a really solid P paragraph. Okay, now this is what I was talking about earlier, this sort of longer P paragraph. It's more fluid, it's got elements of really specific, accurate knowledge in there. You can see my explanation sentences are quite clear. I've got as a result, I've got this meant that, I've got as a result further on. Okay, so that is a solid P paragraph. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is to have a go at writing your own P paragraph. So you can either write about the other stimulus point, so the night of the long knives, okay, or you can write about something else. Okay, just make sure your P paragraph follows that same structure of linking it back to the question, 2 to 3 pieces of specific evidence and explanation of your point. So if you are talking about the night of the long knives, okay, explain to me, what is it about the night of the long knives that allowed Hitler to form a dictatorship, to take complete control? Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you write anything and you'd like either myself or Mr. Hutchins to read it, that'd be amazing. Just come and see us in our rooms and we can mark that for you. Questions as always, please just pop in and see us.